It's June 21st, 2010. It's Monday. We're more than 60 days into the BP oil spill. My friends, please watch this entire 10-minute presentation because I'm going to give you actual solutions to bring British Petroleum and the controlled environmental lobby to justice. This is all a giant attempt to bring in carbon taxes. We have conclusive proof of means, motive, the whole nine yards. There is no doubt that this, at the bare minimum, was premeditated negligence. They gave the rig operators orders that they knew and that they had been warned would cause this giant oil spill. And now Obama is saying he wants the carbon tax. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to then give you solutions. We have ways to bring these people to justice, so stay with us till the end. I'm going to go over different facets of this crisis from my research in the last 60 plus days. I've really held my comment for a long time and just been doing deep research to really try to ascertain and gauge what's happening here. And I have to say this blindsided me. I never expected a false flag terror attack by the state, by the global corporate system via an oil well. But they're always inventing new ways to bring in crises to offer their solution, global taxation and regulation. We have an article on PrisonPlanet.com that details all of this. The headline, and it's at the bottom underneath this video, I hope you click on it and read it. States need to launch criminal investigation into BP, federal government's role in oil spill. Mounting evidence shows disaster was deliberately contrived either through conscious neglect or outright sabotage and is being allowed to worsen, and they're covering it up. If you go to this article on PrisonPlanet.com, it details with links and proof and the Coast Guard court record and mainstream media reports the information I'm about to boil down for you here. Number one, BP, this came out in the Coast Guard hearings with the survivors and the people running the well, there on site. BP gave them orders that no one had ever been given before in deep sea drilling. And that was to dump water into the drilling hole that was 30,000 feet down. Imagine an airplane at 30,000 feet looking down at cities. They look like little tiny things below you. That's how far down they drilled. And British Petroleum ordered Halliburton and others who were on the rig on record months before to carry out all sorts of shoddy procedures. But then it got worse. As the well began to come in, as the gas and oil began to come up, they said dump seawater in on it and keep drilling. And they said, we have to put cement in. We have to put mud in, as it's called in the industry. We have to create plugs. We have to have pressure. We can't let this come in before we're ready or it will explode. It'll be a disaster. That's on record in the hearings. Via their satellite phones, the head engineers, all of them got in huge arguments, and this is unprecedented, with BP. And Atlantic Monthly and others have gotten the transcripts, which you can read online, of what happened in those Coast Guard hearings with the survivors. And once the rig exploded and was on fire, people in the rescue ships, who'd been in arguments previously with the BP executives back in Houston were saying, I hope you're effing happy because the well is now on fire. Do you understand? I told you this was going to happen. So bare minimum, there needs to be a criminal investigation and criminal indictments of who gave those orders. We have 11 dead people and a gulf full of toxic oil that's now off-gassing all sorts of even more deadly toxins, causing all sorts of respiratory problems. But then if you pull back and look at what happened before, in the week before the spill, back on April 20th, 2010, things come into very clear focus. Number one, the CEO of British Petroleum dumped a third of his stock in the weeks before the spill. Then you have Goldman Sachs that just so happened to have its CEO being the previous CEO of BP. You have them dumping 44% of their stock, not in other oil companies, just in BP, in the week before. Then you add to that Halliburton buying just 2 weeks before the spill, one of the biggest oil spill cleanup companies in the Gulf of Mexico, which wasn't seen as a good buy by industry analysts at the time. So you have all of this pre-positioning. But then you go back to the history. Who is British Petroleum? They were in on the meetings in 96, 97, 98 with Ken Lay of Enron, with the head people from Goldman Sachs on record in those meetings with Al Gore and Bill Clinton and others. British Petroleum was, as a foundational company, setting up the carbon tax. And they were instrumental in getting the other oil companies in the last few years online to do this. Why? Because BP, if you look at its power structure, isn't just owned by the Queen of England. She owns a large part, and they're partners with Dutch Roll Shell. Queen Beatrix has some holdings. Then you've got Goldman Sachs tied into the central banks, is also one of the larger holders. And they are all openly announcing that they had to have the Copenhagen-Denmark Treaty. That was going to be their new global funding mechanism at an international level for the new SDRs. That was what was going to back up via a taxpayer this new global cashless society currency that they've been announcing all over the news. And when the ClimateGate emails came out in November, that basically derailed their program because it exposed the fact that the government is using environmentalism as a way to enslave people and take over society and micromanage everyone. And so BP, you've seen it in the magazines and TV ads and in airports, the billboards, it's just everywhere where BP's promoting carbon tax, BP's promoting world government. And so they've invested tens of billions of dollars in the last decade in promoting, quote, green energy, because they're invested in taking over that whole new area of the economy. They lay out the new infrastructure, they own the new infrastructure, and it's all about fleecing you, nothing to do with the environment. And so their whole agenda is in trouble. And I said about a week into the BP spill, I said, look, there are oil leaks, there are oil spills. This is BP. They're one of the biggest contributors to Obama. We need to look at this very, very carefully. But this could just be a regular oil spill. And then you saw Obama blocking the response. You saw BP blocking the states and individuals and corporations and foreign governments wanting to come in and help. You saw them blocking berms being put up in front of the estuaries, the rivers, and wetlands. So they have the motive. They want the carbon tax. They ordered the people on the well to do things that they knew would cause it to explode and create a giant leak. All of this was happening. And then you have Obama blocking the response. And I told people, I said, watch, Obama's going to come out, whether they stage this or not, and as Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste, and they're going to call for taxes on the wellhead, taxes at the gas pump, taxes on your home, federal inspections, everything that's in the House bill that's now in the Senate. And sure enough, last week he came out and said, pass the greenhouse gas tax initiative, pass this entire globalist takeover of the United States to pay the international banks even more money. I mean, it makes the bailout look like a pittance in comparison. It only gets more horrifying when you learn that they're seriously looking at slant drilling in and detonating a hydrogen bomb. And many geologists and experts who are all over the news are saying, look, you've already got this well ruptured. You've already got 20 miles away oil plumes coming up from the undersea floor. It's probable, not possible, according to many of the experts that I respect, that this will fracture the entire structure and will release even more oil. But don't worry, Obama, bought and paid for by Goldman Sachs, that controls BP, they've got a solution. They've got more taxes, more regulation, more control for you. This oil spill was tailor-made for Obama. You notice it happened a month after he announced drilling was allowed. No one could believe it. And then right on time this happens. This is amazing. You see the state governments complaining. You see Jindal and Barber, saying Obama is blocking their barges, blocking their relief effort. Well, then why don't they just call the legislatures into session and declare their 10th Amendment powers and go out there and tell the Coast Guard that they're engaged in high treason and that they're not going to stand by and take their unlawful orders? You call your legislatures, you call your governors, and you tell them, emergency sessions, take action now. You put the barges out there. You call on the volunteers. You take action. You don't cop out and let Obama and BP tell you that they're the boss. Since, who died and made BP king? Who died and made them God? But here's the most important point. You call those governors and those legislatures, and you tell them have state grand juries, county grand juries, start investigations. People have been harmed in Louisiana, Mississippi, and other states. People died on that rig who are from those states. Their families need to go to grand juries and call for criminal investigations, because in the Coast Guard report, where they had the court hearing and interviewed the people that were on the rig, they said they told BP that it was going to explode and that was going to happen. But for some reason, BP wanted that to happen. So call these phone numbers and you tell them criminal investigations of BP. And it's going to all lead back to Obama and the big central banks and Goldman Sachs that owns part of BP who want the carbon tax. It's that simple. Their whole world government agenda, tens of billions spent in the last few decades getting this fake environmental cult going to take control of the carbon cycle and all human life. And now it's in trouble. The ball's in your court, folks. Take action. Get the phone numbers out of this article. Get it out to everybody you know and let them know. Criminal charges for BP and impeachment for Barack Hussein Obama. Take action, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing can stop you.